Al Gregerson, and I'm the Executive Director of the MIT Leadership Center and also a Senior Lecturer in Innovation and Leadership at the Sloan School of Management. For 30 years, I've spent my life trying to figure out how leaders do their work well and how they in fact do it exceptionally well. So I've studied early on global leadership, people landing in new countries, and then for another decade I studied leaders of transformational change in organizations. And for the last 15 years I've paid deep attention to leaders who are trying to drive innovation throughout an organization, in large part because they are innovators themselves. And across all three of those decades, the strand that always is there is whether I'm landing in a new country, leading change, or trying to innovate, all of those leaders were exceptional at asking the better question. These were questions that were catalytic, questions that transformed what is to what something in a very amazing way might be. Innovation doesn't matter if what we're doing is the right thing and the world doesn't change. And in that situation, we really don't need better new ideas or organizations, products, processes, business models, fill in the blank. But in a world that's full of change like ours is, innovation is central. In fact, it's pivotal. And so on the one hand, every leader in most organizations has to systematically deliver and execute and do the things in order to make it work today. And the trick becomes, how do I also at the same time spend a significant portion of my energy trying to find the next new learning curve, the next new idea, the next fill in the blank. And that's the part where no matter what level we are in an organization, part of our energy, and in the most innovative companies and the most innovative leaders in those companies, they spend close to 1/3 of their week after week after week, actively trying to seek out the passive data that would give them information that others don't have to get ideas that might well disrupt their industry and create an entirely new path for themselves and their organization. Everyone has brainstormed, or pretty much everyone has brainstormed at one point or another in their life or their career. You're in a situation, you're trying to generate new ideas. The ideas, you just get them all out there. And what I discovered about 20 years ago is a different form of brainstorming, and I call it doing a question burst. So imagine doing a brainstorm, but all you do is ask questions during a defined period of time. So no matter what your challenge is, big or small, collective or individual, write that challenge down. Do a quick check, an emotional check. How do you feel about it? Good, bad, indifferent, whatever it is, just write it down quickly. And then set a timer for 4 minutes, ask nothing but questions about the challenge or opportunity. There are 2 rules that are going to feel weird, but if you follow them, they work. Number 1, whenever we ask a question during that say it's a 4-minute period, defined and specific to generate nothing but questions, no answers. Leaders, by definition, love to give answers, and the first rule of this question burst process is don't answer any of the questions during that 4-minute burst. The second rule is don't try to explain to other people why you're asking the question, because both answering the question or explaining why you're asking the question, both of those tasks actually constrain how other people see the problem or opportunity so that they see it just like you. And that doubles the problem. And so if we don't answer any of the questions, if we don't explain why we're asking the questions, but literally, maybe it's you and I sitting down together at a table, informally, I've got my challenge, we now set the timer for 4 minutes, I write them down, we both generate questions as fast as we can. And the data would tell us that in 4 minutes we'll get together about 15 to 20 questions. Then do a quick emotional check afterwards. Do you feel any different? Better, worse, or the same? And the data are, from thousands of leaders we've done this with, is that 80% of the time at least, people feel better about their problem or opportunity. Now, you might wonder, who cares? We care because the research for decades would say that if we're in a more emotionally positive state, there's a higher probability we're going to get a new idea that's valuable. And so what's happened there in that 4-minute burst for 80% of the people is they are now in a better emotional state. Then step back for a minute, look at those questions, which one matters, which one are worth going out and getting more information, and take a moment to think through, okay, has this process of asking nothing but questions slightly reframed my challenge? Do I have an idea that I didn't have before because I've just asked nothing but questions? And again, the data are about the same, at least 80% of the time. I've slightly reframed in a better way what I'm trying to accomplish, and I've got at least one new idea that will help me get there. It may sound too simple, too easy, and I often see leaders, especially senior ones, who think, no, I'm not going to do that. In fact, when they do it, they realize, just like everybody else, 80% of the time, it unlocked them. It brought and surfaced a question that opened a direction they never had before, and that makes all the difference.